Hi, I'm Jami Philbrick for iamROGUE.com. I'm here in San Diego at Comic-Con International 2013 talking to some of the cast and crew of the new film Kick-Ass 2. Had a chance to talk to Christopher Mintz-Plasse as well as John Leguizamo and others about the new movie. Here's what they had to say. Coming into the sequel, kind of working with Jeff to streamline the two different comics into one story, and then with the absence of Matthew, bringing Jeff in to direct, what was it like putting together the second film?
Well, Matthew's been kind of like the Holy Ghost, you know, sort of hovering over the project, you know, because Matthew, obviously, it was a big part of his life. Matthew was trying to get the thing going in 2009 when nobody wanted to make it, or 2008 when nobody wanted to make it, you know, and like, you know, he got his own cash together, friends' cash together, got the film made, so he was never going to give it up completely, you know, so he handpicked Jeff, and I trusted Jeff because I trust Matthew, you know, I knew Jeff was going to do an awesome job, and he has, you know, so what's lovely is it turning out good.
I feel just incredibly fortunate to have inherited the kick-ass mantle, and it was, and I would even say taking over is the wrong expression because I had a very close relationship with Matthew as I was writing the script, and we talked a lot about it, and he was just an incredible producer for me as a filmmaker because, you know, he both supported me, but he also gave me the freedom to make the movie I wanted to make, so I just feel blessed.
Matthew called me, and you know, there's always that news where you're kind of sad, you're like, this is Matthew's creation, Matthew's baby, I want him to come back and direct, but he had the utmost faith in Jeff, and Jeff called me, and we had a bunch of meetings, and he did the script was great, and I thought he did a fantastic job of the movie. And Matthew was watching all the dailies. He had a big mind set on the final edit, and he would call me like every week and just kind of. So it was like Matthew was there. He was a presence.
I was a huge fan of the first film. I saw it on opening weekend, and this for me was just like stepping through the looking glass into a world that I loved. And the first day on set where I saw Aaron in costume and Chloe in costume, I was like a little kid on Christmas morning. I just thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, and to be a part of it and to have my own superhero costume, and it was really special. It was amazing.
I was a huge Kick-Ass fan. You know, I just saw that movie, and it was a really great coming of age story about this kid and this little girl, but then the violence and the vulgarity just took it to another level, to this fantasy world. But I really like that these superheroes didn't really have powers, that they got the shit kicked out of them. I really dug that. It just really made it like an incredible coming of age story, you know?
Red Mist.
Yes.
He's now the motherfucker.
Yes.
So tell me about sort of the evolution of this character in the second film.
Yeah, absolutely. In the first one, you know, Red Mist is just kind of a young, naive kid who he wants to be a superhero with Kick-Ass. He loves Kick-Ass. He loves what he's doing, but he also wants to get the respect from his father. So he's kind of torn in the middle. And at the end, obviously his dad gets murdered by a bazooka. And that's kind of where we take off. At the end of this one, it's 2 years later, but he's just been revenge-driven this whole time, and he's lost his mind, and then he loses his mother in a freak accident, and so he has no one to turn to, no family whatsoever, so he just kind of falls in this dark downward spiral of evil motherfuckerness.
What happened to Red Mist was that his parents were both, right? So I become the surrogate guardian, surrogate bodyguard, surrogate punching bag. Because he's the most oppositional. His name suits his personality. Motherfucker is a motherfucker. Does not listen to me, disobeys me. I try to make him a man, take him to Chuck Liddell, the Iceman. Doesn't work, because the boy, you saw his body. His body's not a villain's body. So the brother needs a lot of help, you know? So I try to recruit all these other villains to help him, like Mother Russia, who can actually kick all of our asses right now.
Yeah, I mean, Night Bitch's origin story is truly sad. I mean, her sister was killed, and this is her way of fighting back, which I kind of love, just thinking about the idea of when bad things happen. I think you have a choice. You can either succumb and become a victim, or you can be empowered by it and fight back, and that's what's amazing about this. I have a sister. Thinking about that is like the worst thing I could ever imagine, and so it was not difficult for me to tap into that sort of sadness and loss.
In the first film mixed violence and humor and was very violent. Do you kind of up the ante a little bit with this one? What's the sort of level and the humor and the violence in this movie?
The short answer is yes. And it's not just violence, it's not just humor, it's emotion. Basically everything you loved about the first film, I felt it was our responsibility to honor it but push it further. So we took that tone that you loved and we just tried to turn it up to 11.
Where's the level of the violence in this film?
Ooh, Jim Carrey may be right. Yo, this movie is so violent, man. I guess because the character is so innocent, and then you just juxtapose it to this incredible, horrific gore. I love it. I think Jeff Wadlow did an amazing job with the action, man. Because I'm a really harsh critic of action. It's always kind of a little, I don't know, a little boring or a little just too much adrenaline and not enough like specificity. And he really makes these like little moments happen. You believe that they really happened, but they still got steroid in it. You know what I mean?
Tell me about John Romita and Mark Miller's sort of influence on your writing on the script. Are you talking to them during the process? Are you looking at the original material? What sort of, or they just sort of say, hey, go for it, man, and do what you want?
It was incredibly collaborative, in that, you know, they gave me as much information and input and feedback as I wanted, but at the same time encouraged me to make my movie. You know, Mark is the first one to say that movies and comics are different mediums, and there's certain things that he has to do when he writes a comic, and when certain things that John has to do when he draws a comic to make a point, because they don't have access to music and people, and there's certain things that I can do in a movie that convey subtleties that necessarily don't come through in a comic that can make the same point. So it's all about just telling the best story for the medium. And it was just fun for me as like a comic book fan. You know, while I'm writing it, Mark is writing the Hit Girl mini, and John is like drawing the last few issues of Kick-Ass 2, and he's sending me his pencils, and Mark is telling me what he's planning for the Hit Girl mini as I'm finishing the script. So it was just very cool to be in this creative stew with them.
I think that this is the part that's most flattering, is that the director used the images that we have from the series, and there are scenes verbatim visually that come from our scenes. No, that's I did an animated sequence in the first film, but this is just a couple of boards that I did that are shown. It was actually in the trailer just this afternoon.
Which should be online.
Yeah, it should be on the trailer. Yeah. It was a much lighter infusion of me in this one than it was in the first one.
Mark Millar emails myself, Aaron, Clark, the cast. He emails them before they're ever released, so we can get a sense of where the movie's going, which is great. That's the only comic book I've read in like the past 4 years. But yeah, it was very true to the comic, except we took out the dog murder and the rape scene, which I think is smart. Very smart.
Have so much influence on a comic book, a character. I mean, you are now this character cinematically.
I've had that thought before. It's pretty fascinating. Chloe and I were sitting, we were talking. She was up for a movie with Julia Roberts, or it was either one. And she's like, I'm Hit Girl. I can't be replaced. You know, that's my character. I built it from the ground up. So she chose this, and I had the same feeling. I was like, I have to do this movie because Red Mist. I can't let another kid kind of take it over. Like, that's my role. And yeah, we came back, and I thought we did a great job.